In this video, I will show you how to create an ASP.NET Core web application with MVC. So here let's click on Create a new project. Then here let's select C# and Web. Then let's scroll down. And let's select ASP.NET Core web application with MVC. So if you don't have this option, then we need to scroll down. Then let's click on Install More Tools and Features. Then in this window, we need to install this component. So it is ASP.NET and Web Development. So we need to select it, then we need to install it. In my case, it is installed. So let's close this window. Then here let's select ASP.NET Core Web Application with MVC, then Next. Let's call this project First App MVC, then Next. Then here let's select the version of the .NET framework, so we can select .NET 9. We can check this box to use HTTPS. Then let's click on Create. So we obtain this solution that contains one project, which is First App MVC. So here we have the properties folder that contains this file, launchsettings.json. So this file contains the different profiles of the application. So we have HTTP and HTTPS. So these two profiles, we can find them just here. So here we have HTTP and we are currently using HTTPS. We can rename this profile, for example, so we can call it Web App. Let's save the file. Then let's select it. So in this profile, we can see that we have launch browser equal to true. This means that when we run the application, the browser will open. Also, we can see that we have this application URL that allows us to define the port number of the application. So here we can set the port number 4000. Let's run the application. So we obtain this application. We can see that it is using the HTTPS protocol and it is running on the port number 4000. Then we have the 3W root folder of the application, which contains public files. So here we have the CSS files and the JavaScript files. Also in the lib folder, we have additional JavaScript and CSS libraries. So for example, we have Bootstrap and jQuery. So in this folder, we can store additional files like images. Then we have the controllers folder, and by default, we have this controller. So in this controller, which is called Home, we can see that we have different action methods. So this is the index method that will return a view called index.cshtml. Then we have the privacy method, which is also called an action method that returns a view that is called privacy.cshtml. So the view that is returned by this method should be available in the views folder, which is this folder, in the folder having the name of the controller. So in the home folder, we have the index view and the privacy view that will be returned by the different actions of this controller. So to go to the index view, we can either open this file or we can make a right click inside this method. So we can make a right click here, then we can click on Go to View. So we obtain this file and here we have the HTML code. So let's update this paragraph. We can delete all of this text. And let's replace it with this paragraph. Let's run the application. And now the index page is updated. Then we have the models folder. So in this folder, we can create different models. Also in the views folder, in addition to the folder of the home controller, we have this shared folder. So in this folder, we have the layout file that is used by the different pages of the application. Let's open it. So here we can see that we have this HTML code. We have the head that contains some CSS files. Then we have the body. So in the body, we have this navbar that contains these two items. So we have the home item and the privacy item. So when we click on the home item, we will execute the index method of the home controller. And when we click on the privacy item, we will execute the privacy method of the home controller. Then here we have this div, which is a bootstrap container that contains the main element, and here we will display the content of the different pages that we can create in the views folder. Then we have the file appsettings.json. So we can use this file to save the different parameters that can be used by the application, like the connection string that allows us to connect to the database. Then we have the file program.cs. So in this file, we can add services to the service container, and we can configure the pipeline of the application. So in the pipeline, we can add the middlewares that will be executed before and after the execution of the different controllers. And here we have this method, map controller route, that allows us to define the route pattern. So by default, the routes of this application will be composed by the name of the controller / the name of the method / we have an optional parameter called ID. So it is optional because we have this question mark. So if we don't provide the name of the controller, then by default we will execute the home controller. And if we don't provide the name of the method, then by default we will execute the index action. That's why the root URL of the application corresponds to the index action of the home controller. Now I will show you how to create actions, views, and controllers. So let's go to the home controller and let's create a new action. So we can copy all of this. Let's paste it here and let's rename this action method. So we can call it about. Then let's create the view. So by default, the view will be called as the name of the method, which is about.cshtml. So here we can make a right click, then add view. Let's select razor view empty, then add. And let's call it about.cshtml. So this view should be created in the views folder under home, and we can find it just here. So here we have a command. We don't need it, so let's delete it. Then we have this section that allows us to write any C# code. So for the moment we don't need it, so let's delete it. And let's create the h1 element. So here we can write about page. Then let's add a link to this page in the navbar. So let's go to the layout file and let's copy this item. Let's paste it here. Here let's write about. Then let's change the name of the action method. So here the action method is called about. And the controller is the home controller. Let's run the application. Then let's click on about. So here we can see that the URL is / the name of the controller / the name of the action method. And here we have the about page. So here in the navbar, we can see that we don't have a space at the left. Also, we need to change the name of the application in the navbar and in the window. So to update the navbar, we need to update the layout file. So this is the layout file. Let's update the title of the window so we can delete all of this. And let's write first up. Then let's add some space at the left and at the right in the navbar. So this is the navbar, and we need to update this class. So here we can delete fluid. Then let's update the name of the application in the navbar. So this is the name of the application. We can update it. So let's write first up. Let's run the application. So now we have this title in the window, we have this name in the navbar, and we have some space at the left. So in the home controller, we created this method that will return a view that is called about.cshtml. We can also create a view with a different name. So let's create a new view. Let's select Razor View Empty, then Add. And this time let's call it details.cshtml. Let's delete the command and let's delete this section. Then let's create the H1 element. And here let's display the text details page. So to display this page in the About method, we need to provide the name of the page to the View method. Let's run the application. Let's click on About. So this time we have /home/about and we have the details page. Now let's create a new controller. So here in the controllers folder, let's make a right click, then Add, then Controller. Let's select MVC controller empty, then Add. And let's call it Articles Controller. Then let's create the index view. So if we go to the Views folder, we can see that we don't have a folder called Articles. So here let's make a right click, then Add View. And let's call it index.cshtml. So we obtain this view, and it is created in the Articles folder in the Views folder. Let's delete this code. So here we can display the text list of articles. Then let's add a link to this page in the nav bar. So let's go to the layout file. Let's copy this item. Let's paste it here. So here we can write articles. So the action method is called index. And the controller is the articles controller. So we need to write articles. Let's run the application. Then let's click on articles. And we obtain this page. Now I will show you how to write C# code in the Razor page. This is called the Razor syntax. So let's go to the index page of the articles controller and let's create a section for C# code. So to create a section, we need to write @ then brackets. Then inside this section, we can create C# code. For example, let's create a string. So we can create this variable article1 and it is equal to C# course. Then let's display this article in the HTML code. So just here we can write a paragraph. We can write article1. Then we can display the value of this variable. So because it is a C# code, we have to write @ then the name of the variable, which is article1. Let's run the application. And here we can see that we have this paragraph. So we have article1 and this is the value of the variable article1. So inside the C# section, we can create C# code, but we can also display HTML code. So let's create a new section. Then let's create two variables. So we can create article2 and article3. Then inside this section, let's create another paragraph to display article2. So here, to create the HTML code, we have just to write the HTML tag. So when we write an HTML tag, all what we write inside the tag will be considered as HTML code. So between these two tags, we can create a paragraph. So because what we have here is HTML code, we need to display the variable article2 as a C# code. So we have to write @ then article2. Then outside the brackets, we can create another paragraph to display article3. So we can copy this. Let's paste it here. So here we can write article3 and let's display the value of the variable article3. Let's run the application. And here we can see that we have two new paragraphs. So we have article2 and article3. In the next video, we will see more details about the Razor syntax, and I will show you how to use loops and conditions, Razor directives, and how to pass data to the view. Then we will use tag helpers and we will create partials and layouts. Finally, I will show you how to use data binding and form validation. You can find the video link in the description.